Hey Thirsty Souls, welcome back. Tonight's Thirsty Soul series is like more of a pillow talk. We're doing a late night Thirsty Souls. I need to do this already because it's weighing heavy on me. I had a rough day. I went to school. I'm in a Holocaust literature class, and my professor turned on an 8-hour Holocaust documentary. And I don't know what it did to me, but it like activated a rage in me that I haven't experienced in a long time. And I was just like fuming and like sad and depressed and deflated, and it like threw me off. I came to school like a normal person, happy, ready to work, my notes, my laptop, normal person. Went to this class, he turned on this sickening, horrible, it was reminiscent of my trip to Poland that you guys know, or maybe really Eastern Europe that you guys know of, and I was like blazing. I don't know what happened to me today, so I kind of went, and the funny thing is, today we're going to be doing this. This is the journal of the. This is also just like weighing heavy on me. I just want to stop reading it because it's so. I don't know. There's something about pre-war Judaism that is so like spooky and haunting to me, or maybe it's because they were all killed that is so spooky to me. But it just, there's something dark, and I just want to stop reading it. But I wanted to share it with you because I think it's a must-read for everyone. In fact, in his so we'll talk about the rabbi in a minute. Colonimus Kalman Shapira, I think that's how you say his name, Colonimus. My brother actually wants to name his first son Colonimus after this rabbi. But it was so weird because I wanted to do this so badly the whole day, and I left school early. I was feeling sick. My body felt weak. I was just in the worst. I wasn't even in a bad mood. I was like, I wanted to like hurt my professor. I was like overcome today. I don't know what happened to me. The Holocaust is such, I mean, obviously it's like a sensitive subject for everyone, but it was so reminiscent of my trip with my parents that I'm still like kind of angry at them for taking me on. So it just did something to me that I don't know. And it was so weird that happened today, that on the day that I wanted to do this Thirsty Souls book series on this journal of the Rabbi of the Warsaw Ghetto. And it's so haunting, and the thing is, he wrote, so let's talk about Colonimus Kalman Shapira for a second. Also, I just finished learning a mimer with my dad. Well, we're not done, we're in the middle of it, this one. It's so, I printed mine out because my dad is using the Sefer, he's using the book. We learned together a lot, or at least I force him. We're learning one for Passover, for Pesach, and we'll do a Thirsty Soul series on that eventually. But anyways, I had a rough day, and it was just weird to me that on the day that I wanted to do this, and I had that horrible documentary. It truly ruined my day. I felt so sick. I slept for like 5 hours after. I don't know what happened to me today. It was horrible. But I'm feeling very, whatever, not even inspired. I went to my sister's house and I just snuggled with my nephew for like 20 minutes, and I felt better. But we just finished learning this mimer, this Hasidic discourse, this teaching from the Lubavitcher Rebbe, and I have that like rare moment of clarity. And so whenever I want to do my videos, I'm always afraid they won't be perfect. And my dad finally said to me, he's like, Baba, they have to be acceptable, not perfect, because if you wait for them to be perfect, you're never going to do them. And he's right. Like maybe 5 times a week I want to do a Thirsty Soul series video, but I'm like, I don't have the facts exactly right, so let me do it for the next 2 days and we'll do it, and I never end up doing it. So from now on, they're just going to be acceptable, guys. I'm sorry, I can't be perfect all the time. I know I usually am. I'm kidding. Let's just start. Colonimus Kalman Shapira was born in Poland. He got married at 16. First of all, before talking about his marriage, we're just doing a biographical background. He was born in Poland to a very illustrious family. His ancestors, his father was a Rebbe, his grandfather, they were all very big Rebbes, holy people in Poland. And his father passed away when he was 3, and he actually reminds me a lot, reading about him, he reminds me a lot about my Rebbe, the Lubavitcher Rebbe. It's very weird. He got married at 16. He became the rabbi of Piazetzna, which is a city right near Warsaw, when he was 20 years old. Just imagine that. He became the rabbi of a town, of a huge town right next to Warsaw at the age of 20. And when the Nazis grounded up all the Jews and pushed them into this ghetto, he became like the official chief rabbi, so to say, of Warsaw. He took care of kosher marriages. He took care of women going to mikvah. He took care of all those things. And although this journal is not from the war period, it's still haunting, and I really want to stop reading it. And my father actually, it's such a powerful read that my dad is actually waiting for me to finish it so he can have it. He also realized that I've been buying all my books, charging them on his credit card. But he's like waiting for me to finish this because he wants it, because it's that powerful. I'm not going to tell you to read this if you want to be inspired. It's thought-provoking, it's moving, it's chilling. And there's, before we like get into this, there's also this Eish Kodesh, which is the reason I wanted to get into this is because I saw this thing on Facebook. I think it's called mosaic.com. There's a huge debate as to whether he lost his faith during the years of the war, because he was killed in 1943 in Troniki. It was a concentration camp, and the story goes that he had the chance to leave. My dad is calling me, which means he's going to keep calling me. Just wait 1 second. He just called me. He's not going to give up. He never gives up. He's going to call again. Okay, he texted me. We're good. We're safe. He had the chance to leave the camp, and he said, I'm not leaving my people, and so he was killed in 1943. Before that happened, again, he was the rabbi in Warsaw, and as Jews, this Warsaw community, so to say, population was getting smaller and smaller due to starvation, disease, and people being deported to Treblinka, to Auschwitz, to wherever they were going. He was delivering sermons, Shabbos speeches every single week, and he hid them along with this journal, this diary, and a few other books like Chovos HaTalmidim, I think it's called. My brother learned that in high school. He hid them in a canister and he put it underground. And I think in the 60s or the 70s, someone found it, and so they published everything in Israel. They translated everything from Yiddish into Hebrew, and then they translated everything from Hebrew into English. So I saw this online debate on Facebook. Did the Piazetzner Rebbe, did the Colonist Kalman Shapira, who was the kindest, the most brilliant, this Kabbalist, did he lose his faith during the war? And they based that debate on his shiurim, on his Shabbos speeches. And they are harrowing, and it's, I just want to not even like read them anymore. I just want to get over this period. I want to not, and it's not that his teachings aren't brilliant. They're too brilliant, and they're too powerful, and it makes me feel like physically ill sometimes to have to read his stuff because it's too much for me. I literally want to just give this book back to my dad. It's like when I look at this book, I just think like it like betrays its contents. Like this blue cover, it just hides everything inside. I can't even, it's too much. So anyways, something haunting about this Eish Kodesh, this book Eish Kodesh, which is his book, which is the one we're not doing now, but his Shabbos talks, his like Shabbos speeches. You can see in the beginning, in 1940, they're very inspirational. They're really inspiring. Keep your faith in God. Don't give up. We're gonna have salvation. And it's so horrible to read as the years go by and more people are killed. He loses his wife, his mother-in-law, his son and his daughter-in-law, and his daughter and his son-in-law. So he loses his entire family. He's the only one left. And you can see as the war years go on, his speeches get more and more like depressing. And he is like, it's so sad. And he wonders whether preaching about faith is going to help at all. And is God ever going to take them out? And do we have to just submit to God's will? It's horrible. It's horrible. And so that's why I bought this book, because I saw this online debate and I said, this is fascinating. And so I just wanted to read. You guys know that the Thirsty Souls book series, we always just kind of read from the book. This was really expensive, I think, for a book. This was like $45, $42, I think, on Amazon. For me, that's pretty expensive for a book, but I think it's worth it. It's like harrowing. So prepare yourself. Also, in the beginning of the contents, like in the beginning of the journal, Colonist Kalman Shapira actually begs that everyone learn his teachings. So I am fulfilling his request. So his journal that we're going into right now was actually written in 1929. So again, I don't know the exact history of pre-war Germany. I know that there was anti-Semitism for hundreds of years because I did a research paper on that. But I know there weren't any gas chambers at this point. There were no concentration camps, blah, blah, blah. So this was written in 1929 when he was a rabbi in Piaseczna, which is basically Warsaw. And I'm just going to read from it. This is what Thirsty Souls book series is. I hope you guys really order this, although it's an investment. It is expensive for a book, but yeah. Okay, we're on page 147. Talking to creation. Again, this journal is not like a book. It's not like a continuous kind of literature kind of thing. It's more like small entries, so I'm just going to read it from one of them. I am exhausted from talking to people about God. I'm constantly trying to convey how God is so immanent right in front of us, even within us, in our thoughts and our actions. God fills our entire outer and inner worlds, our deepest recesses, and all of our life experiences. My dad called me again. But all people see is the earthly world, and they bury their heads in it with their entire beings. If only... Sorry, he called me again. I told you he wouldn't give up. Okay. But all people see is the earthly world, and they bury their heads in it with their entire beings. If only they would listen to my cries, follow the voice of God in all your physical and spiritual actions. Your entire life is in his presence. But they have blinded themselves with their physical perceptions, and their hearts sense nothing beyond their physical senses. My throat is hoarse. Fresh ideas about how to convey these truths are not forthcoming. The sharp insights I've had in the past are dimming. I feel about to fall into depression. God help me. When I had left the Friday night Shabbat table, I gave up. No one had been listening anyway, so I began to talk to the universe. Listen to this. I opened my window and I saw an entire world just waiting for someone to acknowledge its beauty. I was then about to recite the bedtime Kriyas Shema, so I spoke to the world and cried out to it, Shema Yisrael, God is one. I continued reciting, enlighten the world with your glory. Blessed be God by day, blessed is he by night. Adon Olam, master of the universe, who reigned before creation, when all came into being through his will, when he was called to the ultimate king. The entire creation seemed to be talking in each holy word and thought as I expressed it. I became greatly encouraged, and all my insights and feelings returned to me. Now, whether by myself or with people, whether or not anyone is listening, I speak instead to the world, to God's world, rather than to people. And when the world itself will reveal its holiness, perhaps then also its inhabitants will become hallowed with it. Then from the far corners of the earth, songs to God will they all be singing. So that's one of the entries. I told you they were heavy. I'll go to something a little less heavy. I thought this is really beautiful. About, hold on one second. How rewarding it would be. This is called, whatever. How rewarding it would be if after the end of our lives we could live another 70 years. We struggle a lifetime training ourselves to uncover our self-deceptions and to nurture the inner greatness of our souls. Then, in a second lifetime, we could reap the fulfillment of living a perfected life even in the imperfect world. But suddenly, after decades of struggle, instead we are gone, taken back into the womb of God. This being the case, the second best thing is to record your inner life in a journal. This will not be something you do to earn immortal fame as an author, but rather to engrave your soul portrait on paper. Write down all your inner struggles, your setbacks and successes, and grant them eternal life. This way, your very essence, the personality of your soul, your spiritual attainments, your life's inner treasures will live on forever in the lives of your spiritual heirs as generations come and go. I thought that was beautiful. There's so many I'd love to read, but I can't. What else? Oh, this is really amazing. I'm thinking about which one to read. They're all so moving. Guys, really order this. It's something you can always come back to. else I missed? I can't find it. Unfortunately. Whatever, we did some. We could do one more. Swimming against public opinion. As a torrent river surges forth. By the way, he's such a beautiful writer. He's like a poet. It's almost like literature. Honestly, it really is. As a torrent river surges forth, sweeping with it all that lies in its path, penetrating into deep recesses and washing away all buried things. So does the torrent of public opinion sweep along the individual mind. You may not know it, you may even deny it, but you have been brainwashed by common belief. This kind of reminds me of like the world forcing women to be thin all the time. It's like, who came up with that idea? Carried along, perhaps more, perhaps less, you now think along these twisted paths. So stay away from the middle of the river. Don't be concerned with what people say. But this alone will not protect you because you cannot completely seclude yourself. Who can vouch that your wife or children will not be swept along with the flow? There will then be the open floodgates to bring the floodwaters inside your doors. And who can abstain from breathing the air that carries the germ of public opinion? How beautifully written is that? Who writes like that? And who can abstain from breathing the air that carries the germ of public opinion? Whoa. Thoughts and opinions are beyond time and space and flow from mind to mind in quantum leaps. Nor can you remain static in this torrent river just by standing firm in your place. You must actively swim against the flow. You may not be successful in swimming upstream, but at least you will not be swept down by the flow. So it is with the spiritual life, the purity of spirit that you have attained. You cannot retain them against the flow unless you continue to struggle for spiritual growth. You must swim upstream without respite, upward, onward against the flow. There may be a limit to how far you can go, but at least you will not be drawn down with the flow. So there you are. That's all for tonight. I can go on and on. It's so, I don't know what to call it. You know what? We'll do one more. Leaving your mark on the world. He who knows his place. Be creative and contribute to the world. Give it the best you have. Make a niche, I don't know, for yourself that will always be felt in the world. Are not the places of our forefathers, the prophets and the other tzaddikim, to this day not known in the world? What a void there would be in the world if, for instance, there had been no Baal Shem Tov. So he or she who knows his place or her place, who leaves a mark in this world with his or her life, his place will forever be known, even beyond his life. So guys, there's like thousands of these, and they are all this rabbi. You can look him up, Kalonimus Kalman Shapira, on, why did I just kiss that? I don't know. On Wikipedia. He's such an incredible figure, and I kind of want to stop reading his books because they're making me sad. But listen to this. Rabbi Shapira argued that a child must be imbued with a vision of his own potential greatness and be enlisted as an active participant in his own development. Likewise, teachers must, in quotes, must learn to speak the language of the student and graphically convey the delights of a life of closeness to God, end quote. He just had a way with words, and he died at the age of 51, I believe, and he refused to leave the Jewish people who were being killed in the concentration camps. He lost his entire family, and he was like the kindest, most patient soul. And it's so funny because it's so fascinating because reading his teachings, it validates my own feelings about the Holocaust. So many people are like, we don't know the ways of God, and maybe it was a punishment. That's the worst when people say that, obviously, because it's completely untrue. But he actually fights with Hashem in his speeches and his books, and he talks to Hashem, and he's talks about such interesting things, and he's so defiant, and he's so angry, and he's so sad and tortured, and he talks about human things. And so when I read it, I'm like, you're reading like a primary source, someone who was in the ghetto, suffering in the ghetto, watching people die day and night. I was in the Warsaw Ghetto. I was in the where people are buried. I always forget the name for where people are buried. It's ridiculous. Graveyard. Oh my God. Cemetery. I was there, and although I'll probably go again, it's too distressing for me to even go to Eastern Europe at this point in my life because it was so horrible last time. So going by this, it's called To Heal the Soul. I purposely did not put that on the description in the thing because it's like, sorry to the publisher, but like boring. To heal the soul, I don't know. It's kind of cliche to me, so I didn't do that. But it is the personal journal of Colonymous Kalman Shapira, who was the oh man, the things I read, the things I saw today, it was terrible. So depressing. But at least I have my nephew to make me feel better. So, I'll just say one more thing because I'm feeling so clear in my head for a moment. And I'm also really tired. My dad and I were just learning together, as I said before. And it's so funny, like, you'll have these moments of true understanding about what life is, you know? It's such a liberating thing for like a split moment to understand what life is actually about. And I keep reminding myself, and I know that it sounds like dark and depressing, and maybe I shouldn't tell this to myself, but without Mashiach, like people kind of make their lives about themselves. Like, where can I go? How much success can I have? What can I do with myself? It's like your life, like the lifespan of a human being is like 80, 90 years, and then that's it. Why are you making your life about you? You're not even like you're here for such a short amount of time, you know? Like if Mashiach doesn't come, someone lives for like 80 years. Now, that shouldn't be, I know that sounds depressing, that's not my point, that like, oh my God, I'm not a nihilist that thinks like, don't do anything because you're gonna die. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying like there must be something else. It can't be that like I have to make a lot of money. You know, that can't be the reason for my life. And I'll just read this one line from this mimer. Again, usually my mom don't look like this. I printed it out because my dad was using the actual book. Shezohi tachas hakavana debrias ha'olam. This is the reason for the creation of the world. Shenis ava kadosh baruch hu, that Hashem wanted or desired lihios lo yisbarich dir b'tachtonim. He wanted a home in this lower physical world, and like that makes sense to me. That makes more sense to me than like driving a Maserati. You know. There's nothing wrong with driving a Maserati. Hopefully one day I'll be driving a Maserati. I'd love to. But I also, more importantly, want to make this world an ocean. Like, whatever. If you read the mimer, if you learned it, you'd understand what I mean by an ocean. Anyways, this is where I stop and I go to bed. Have a beautiful Shabbos. Stay thirsty. If I could just take you into my mind, I would. But I can't. I can only talk. So, hasta la vista, stay thirsty, and I'll see you later.